Hello, all, and welcome to another episode of Market Pulse presented by Smart Touch. I'm Aaron Fichera, and today I have a special guest with us, Harrison Montgomery, who is the head of growth and marketing for Aireal. Harrison, welcome.
Aaron, thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation. I've been, following you guys for a while and love what you guys are building here with this podcast and as a company.
Yeah. Harrison, we met earlier in the year and I absolutely fell in love with Aireal. We met at a trade show. You guys showed, I remember you guys showed up in a truck and the day of and just putting stuff, it came out beautiful. But I just remember, we got a chance to spend 2 days together, but being able to be in kind of the simulation and seeing what you guys are doing with augmented reality and VR is just absolutely amazing. And I think is a delight and a continuation to our audience about the ever-changing technology that we're seeing, not only in marketing, but in the home buyer journey, as well as for vendors and the home builders and developers themselves. So before we kind of jump into more of Aireal, I always want to give our guests a little background. Harrison, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you come into this industry?
Yeah, so I actually kind of took a very interesting journey to get to real estate, especially in the virtual tour industry. So I started out of college as an economics major, decided to go into TV, where I worked my way up in TV, did a lot of TV stuff until I became a consultant for IT technology, with our founder, Kevin, as well, who our founder is actually one of my best friends from high school. So I've actually kind of been around like the idea of Aireal ever since its inception in 2013. But after a while into IT, like consulting, I realized like, oh, consulting is not like what I want to do. It's fun, but it's not where I want to be. Like I kind of want to be more in like that, storytelling vibe. And that's kind of when I went back to TV and actually was doing a lot of producing for live sporting events and live, pre and post game shows until Kevin came along in about 2018 and said, hey, I can't bring you on full time, but I can bring you on as a contract marketer. I need some marketing. We've kind of like really started to scale up. So I took him on that role, and then in about 2019, middle of it, he said, "Hey, I'm good. Let's bring you on full time," and been doing that ever since. Aireal kind of has a similar path to also into the real estate world. So we started in sports and entertainment. When we created our technology, we thought, hey, we're sports fans. What's the best place that we can apply our technology? Let's do sports. So some of our first clients were like Nike, Arsenal, college football playoff, the Dallas Mavericks,
Wait.
and even Shark Week.
Let me get this straight. Arsenal FC.
Arsenal FC. Yep.
Okay,
Out in the UK. First UK client.
I'm a huge Arsenal fan, so I gotta ask, and I know I'm going off the script here. What were you doing with Arsenal? And then how can I get involved?
Yeah, so we were doing like a lot of like immersive like AR experiences for the fans, so they could go take digital photos with the players outside of the like stadium, and not even like it didn't even have to be in the stadium. So they would geospatially anchor them throughout the city, and so people could like as they're interacting and watching games, they could start watching games with their favorite player and take photos of it with them and share them on social media.
Interesting. I think I remember when this was happening on the Arsenal thread. So sorry, as a big footy fan and a diehard Arsenal gunner through and through. So you got my interest there. But I mean that's interesting that the fact that you applied it to sports. But how do you make the jump from okay, I get to watch sports and take videos with Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp to real estate? How do you
Yeah,
make that
it's
jump?
actually it actually just came about by one of our investors. He's a custom home builder out here in Dallas, and he came to us and said, "Hey, I have a problem. I'm building a home for this family. She can't understand what the heck I'm drawing in my vision. Like, I just want to be able to use your technology to actually let her visualize what she's seeing." And we had never done it before. Said, "Well, do you have plans?" And that's all. Like, if you have a plan and like tell us what we need, we can build it. So it took a little bit of a while to actually build out the first experience just because we had never done a construction home. But once we had it down, it was like he showed it right there on the lot. She understood exactly like the scale. She understood exactly what the home was going to look like. Even made a few design changes, and it was just from one that was kind of the light bulb moment of, hey, we're actually solving a problem and not just being a nice to have.
Well, and I mean, that's always when you find the sweet spot in business and scaling is there's a problem in the market, you solve it. So now I got to ask, A led to B, B led to C. So how did you go from one custom home builder to solve that need to a full company,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's
So it we so how we did it really is like we kind of started unique instead of like going after like the big production home builders first, where we knew there's going to be massive scale. We understood as a business that we weren't going to be able to handle that scale without a process in on the back end. So
Mhm.
we started really with all the custom home builders, not only in the DFW area, but some out in New York, some in Arkansas. I have a really funny story about how our technology helped a lady out in Arkansas, but it's like we had to build out those custom processes internally because everything in the custom home building is, as you know, custom. You might
Custom.
have a piece of granite that's from Italy, and
Yeah.
that's not going to be something that a spec home builder is going to have or a production home builder because they have everything built out. So we had to build out those processes internally so that when we changed over into the production home builder, we were ready to take on 500 home plans at a time because everything is so repeatable and scalable that it makes our job a lot easier.
So it sounds like you guys jumped into the deep end of the pool first. You had all the systems, so when you did to the more high high volume, it's like, oh yeah, we can do that easily now.
Exactly.
So,
We were just like, hey, engineers jump into the fire, you figure it out, and then we'll take it from there.
and I bet from a marketing standpoint, you said, oh, we'll have it out to you by the quarter, and your engineers must have loved you for it. That's always
Oh yeah.
the
Which
the balancing act
yeah.
between the product, the software, the product development, and the sales and marketing team.
Yeah, and I will say it's much easier for them to now to go say, "Hey, I have a 3,500 square foot home or 4,500 square foot home than a 15,000 square foot home." So they love the simplicity of not having to do all those custom little things that a custom home might have.
Well, it kind of to that growth period in Ariel's history, how did you feel the solution that Ariel was presenting address the current needs in the real estate market? Because we're talking about in your journey, 2018 is really when it sounds like it started to pick up momentum. So we're talking about from 2018 to current 2024. How do we get, I mean, where did you guys see that need? How did it develop? What are some changing buying journey and habits that ultimately led to your guys' success?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I mean, and it's kind of cliche, but the pandemic really kind of opened up the production home builder world to understand that a lot of people now are going to be going online and buying things sight unseen, or even starting to buy things sight unseen. So, like, there was that kind of digital transformation that really kicked off and was accelerated by the pandemic. I think one of the best builders that I've seen do it is Taylor Morrison. They've really created that almost like Tesla-like UX experience for a customer where you can come onto your website, you know where you're going, you can build your home online and then even order it online. Now, not everybody's going to want to order online, but I think like the way that like the human emotion lives is some people don't want to interact with salespeople, and that's okay. Some people don't want to interact or spend their time at a model home. They simply want to be able to understand exactly what they're getting in a digital world. And so we kind of understood where that market was going. So not only did we apply our AR technology to the production home world, we then said, well, we can take our AR technology and put it on the web so that it can live on those websites as well. Because we want people to understand, buying a home is an emotional journey, and not being able to see that vision come to life is going to break that emotional connection. And then all of a sudden, you're not going to have the buying behavior that you want your buyer to have because they're going to start to question what actually they are actually getting.
Do you find this is very valuable to not only builders but to developers as well as they're looking at raw land and being able to? Because in my experience, we before we hopped on, we talked about Stephenville and developments, and in my experience, some of the hardest things to do if you lack a model home or something physical is creating that storytelling, creating that identity that I can live here. And it sounds like a happy medium that if you don't have or you're not at that stage to have a model home or a spec home or something to show the client, this acts as maybe a stopgap.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like if you think about it from a developer or even if a builder developer, that community that they're trying to build and that vision that they have to be able to, market that to their end buyer because that's eventually where that person's going to live. They have to understand like it's not the community is not just that civil CAD area that they bought. It's the places that are around it. It's how close am I to the nearest school? How close am I to the nearest shopping center? Like what exactly is my home going to be like? And without being able to say that other than like a flat picture or a fly through video rendering, you know, we interact with the world in 3D in real life. So why would you want to like interact with it 2D online
Yeah.
because it's not going to paint the full picture. So being able to not only like see that vision come to life as a developer, then that they can sell to their builders, but then also from a builder to also be able to sell that vision to their buyers. So one of the great things that we also do on the back end is we're tracking over 70 different metrics of how people are interacting with those spaces. So like say you're a developer and you
Yeah.
understand that your buyers are or your builders are like looking at these lots, everyone's looking at lot 110. Well, you didn't have lot 10 picked as a hot lot. Now you know that it actually is a premium lot, and we're running analytics and predictive measures based off that, so we can understand the other lots that are going to be more premium. And so now you can add on a little premium to something that you didn't expect to be. And if you see a premium that you had that is kind of like losing value, now you can start to see those trends before they happen.
Well, I do want to dive a lot into the specs and the technology behind this. One of the great products I was talking to, I was telling the audience about is Aireal's Architect's Geospatial AR platform. We talked about metrics that are being down there. What, for those that are listening, what, and wanting to learn more about AR and VR and what's going on, what's the technology that goes into this? Where are we at in the whole spectrum of AR? Because it gets thrown around constantly, right? I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it almost becomes a novelty at some point. Like, Pokemon Go really kind of,
yes.
diminished AR because everyone thought it was just a game. The metaverse, Mark Zuckerberg kind of diminished the metaverse because everyone's thinking it's just an avatar that you're watching someone play,
Or
get
it's
on
just a
Peloton.
fad, right? or
Exactly.
or
And,
an
I
AR
think
and VR for myself is video games, right? Okay, I can pop on, the Quest 3, play Skyrim. That's as far as this technology is going to take me.
exactly. But like when we came up with so all of our technology, like all of our proprietary AR technology, we created ourselves. So we didn't even use like Google or Apple's AR Kit or AR Core to create our technology. So that allowed us to not only get like precision level geospatial, placement, so we can place things exactly in the lot lines or exactly in the coordinates as a development will be, but we also are allowed to get 100 times more realistic than you can actually get while using the devices that Google and Apple already have. And the reason that we kind of pitch AR and using those devices is because everyone already has a phone, everyone already has a tablet. We're not asking people to go out and buy goggles that might be $300 or buy wearables that might not be there, because at the end of the day you're immersing yourself in your actual world with digital content and being able to walk around that and see that content, that world come to life, um, is really a powerful thing. I don't know if you're familiar with the like term ontological design, but what it
No.
means is what we design ultimately designs us back. So being able to have a virtual world that you're building and designing is
Mhm.
ultimately going to start building those habits back into you. So not having a digital world that you want to live in is not one that you actually want to build too, because now you're going to start building back habits to yourself that are bad habits.
So from that, what kind of new habit forms have been coming through this development phase within Ariel? I'm assuming the
The
habits
biggest
the
one,
habits in 2018
yeah,
are completely different than what we're dealing with now in 2024. What are you seeing as those habit changes and your proprietary AR? What has been some new learning models?
yeah, the biggest ones that we've seen obviously is like just people are starting to interact more digitally, whether it's with a online digital AR version or a application digital AR version. Like more and more people are actually interacting with their homes, that they're connecting emotionally on a emotional level that allows them to essentially see their vision come to life. They can walk into that third bedroom. They know that they have a kid coming along the ways. They're starting to implant that vision of like, hey, this is where that nursery is going to live. Now they can start designing it in their head. But and then on the flip side, from a builder standpoint, is we've really understood like when people use our AR technology or our web AR technology, is we can drive down those costs because we're putting those buyers in a place that gives them comfort with what they're buying, so that change orders are being dropped down. On average, like 18% of CapEx is wasted due to rework and change orders. In projects that have been using our technology, we bring that down to 6%. So 12% extrapolated over a large master plan community is a lot of money. And it's really just because, people are understanding exactly what they're buying. But then on the flip side, it's covering the developers and the builders because they can say, hey, look, like we've shown you a photorealistic view of what you're going to get and you guys signed off on it. So like, if you do want to make that change, we're glad to do it, but just understand that it's going to come out of your pocket. So it really kind of like drives that customer sentiment like higher and higher because everyone is on that same lens, from a developer to a builder to a buyer.
Excellent. I mean, yeah. And just with your positioning in the marketplace with just technology, are you seeing any other additional trends when it comes to technology? We talked about digital and web presence. You guys have, pun intended, the pulse when it comes to VR and some of the newer technologies being incorporated in real estate. I mean, is there anything that's kind of groundbreaking that you would want to share or are merging that's we should be paying attention to?
I think the biggest trend that we're seeing that like Aireal has, kind of capitalized on, and companies like yourself have capitalized on, is like everyone is going online, whether or not people want to admit it. They're searching online, so you have to be like really like tough in your like marketing strategy for how you want to digitize your marketing, whether it's SEO, whether it's like how you present yourself online, how you connect your systems. Like we've talked to builders who are still doing their ERP systems on CSVs, which is a-okay in our world because we can connect into those CSVs as long as you're updating it. But if you have it, ERPs are starting to get smarter, CRMs are starting to get smarter. So the smarter things are getting is like better and better for not only just the consumer, but then the business as itself, because they can start to run more efficiently.
Well, what I've found in trends, especially in my experience in software and technology and apps, do you feel that we're going towards a more trends of integrated? And when I say that is, when apps first came out, they were very built in isolation and siloed. And now we have to use Zapiers or something to act as a bridge between the APIs. How are you guys overcoming that? Was that in the design for Aireal to be thinking about integration, whether it be mobile, desktop, even Quest 3 and the Apple Vision that's not even out yet? But is that kind of in the thought process, is integration?
Oh yeah. So like even when we started in 2013, like one of our ethos was like we have to have open APIs because we have to accept data from everywhere that it can become data. Because one customer might have a system that works well with another system, but if they have the data and the JSON data, we can integrate it into our system. And then from the same hardware standpoint, is like we always have to be looking at what hardware is coming out and where we can deploy. So how we kind of build out our product is everything is built out to deploy in 3 different ways, and it doesn't matter, but you're getting the same product. Like you're not having to pay for 3 different products. So we can deploy to the web AR, we can deploy to the sales XR, which is actually like inside the sales offices, and we can deploy to AR. And the great thing about AR is it'll connect into, Google phones, Apple their wearable, the Vision Pro. We can integrate into the Quest. We can integrate into HoloLens. Like it doesn't matter what the wearable or the device is. It's like we've already prepared ourselves to connect into those systems because trends are going to change. At some point, that Vision Pro is going to be the standard, And we have to be prepared for it now, because if we're not prepared for the mass adoption stage, then you've already lost half the market.
So it might be, as vendors and marketers, we're now just scratching the surface, and this is kind of at that discovery and education phase. But, for those that are listening, integration might be the mantra, especially with technology and web presence, if not in the next 5 years.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially like if you think about it, like if your systems aren't talking and you have to manually go from one system to the next, like things can obviously get lost in translation. Things could take some time because that manual person has other things that are on their plate that they have to take account of first. So like if there's a system that can connect everything and send essentially be a pass through of data, then now you're starting to run more efficiently as a business. Your customers are starting to see things more efficiently, and like just it's almost like you see road developers. They do this all the time. They keep rebuilding roads. Well, the reason they're doing that is because there's so much congestion coming into the market. They have to rebuild these roads to make it flow easily of traffic. So that's essentially kind of what Aireal is doing, is like we're building this flow of data that is taking all the congestion and just spitting it out nice and cleanly. So yeah, the roadmap for Aireal in 2024 really looks very unique. We have some internal products that are being released that are very cool, that allow us to streamline our processes at a massive efficiency scale. But one of the coolest ones that I think that our builder friends are going to love is similar to how you have targeted ads on Instagram. We're going to have a targeted virtual tour. So by the time someone comes onto a website, they'll understand all the buying habits that user has had. And then it's going to automatically stage that home and that design with their looks. So if I was looking at a modern farmhouse home and I knew that I had a baby on the way and I've been searching for baby furniture or baby stuff, that third bedroom is going to automatically be staged into a modern farmhouse, nursery. Every piece of furniture and decor in that is going to be staged to modern farmhouse. So it really kind of starts building that emotional connection to those home buyers, and really allows those data points that people are, the sales and marketing teams are getting from the virtual tours to like really start building that home buying process and kind of like reducing those touch points.
Well, it definitely sounds, because like we talked about, looking at raw land or just a blank piece of paper can be daunting. So it kind of reduces the daunting task, and at least gives you a starting point.
Oh yeah, and like it, that's the age-old question. Is like, where do I start? Well, now we give you that. Where do you start? And so it's like you don't have to worry about like, oh, I've got to think about things. I've got to like ideate on things, and then I got to start. It's like, nope, here's your starting point, and go.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Harrison, as we're wrapping up today's show, and I'm floored, and I can't wait to see the next developments. I mean, you guys are absolute wizards, when it comes to technology, and it's always a treat when we talk and there's some new product or new widget you guys are thinking about and revolutionizing. So it always piques the tech interest in me. But like you said, your core competency is new home, master plan communities. We're entering into 2024. I always like to talk to our audience and say, hey, from your experience and your position in the real estate market, what advice do you have for those that are listening? What are some trends that you're seeing? What are some cautions, benefits, advice?
I would say the one trend that I would be cautious of, and the one best way to combat that, would be essentially like, with rates being so high as they are, is things are getting more expensive for you. No, sorry. Let me start over again. I don't know. I just lost my words. So I would say the biggest trend that I would say, people need to, watch out for is obviously buying a home is becoming more expensive than ever before, simply because of mortgage rates are getting more expensive. So the one way that I would combat that is, new home sales probably has the best opportunity right now in the market to start creating a tribe of people that'll become their spokespeople. Because, and I say that because new existing home people aren't going to want to sell their home. They're not going to want to sell their home at what might be a higher price, but now they have to pay a higher price for a new home and a higher mortgage rate on top of that. So all these, all the shortage in the market that is, I think there's like 6.5 million short, or short 6.5 million homes for people who are looking for homes. So the demand is there. New home builders can have that supply and really start to build out that customer experience and that customer journey and really nail it. Because if they nail it, then when it becomes time to, for that second home that buyer is looking for, they're going to remember that experience that they had, 15, 20 years prior and go back to that same company. So it's a real great time for them to just hone in on that user journey and really start to, make everything, with the intention of it's not just this home that they're going to be buying, it's their next two homes that they're going to be buying. And then they're going to go to their friends and family and say, I had such a wonderful experience with this builder and this developer that you should be looking at those. And then it's just word of mouth spreads. It makes their marketing efforts a lot more easier. And then once those times that those mortgage rates have come down, now those existing homeowners are not just competing with, themselves. They're also competing with this tribe of people that have been building with these new homeowners or new home builders. And it's just, it's hard to stop.
No, I think that's an excellent perspective. Very interesting. Harrison, for those that are listening, if they want to learn more about yourself, Aireal, Livy, some of the great products that you guys are offering, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, I would say the best way to reach out is, my email line is always open, harrison@aireal.io. Or if you want to go to www.aireal.com, there is plenty of information and plenty of links that you can get in touch with us. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. You can find me on Instagram. I'm always on our Instagram. So I would say Instagram, LinkedIn, email, you name it. You reach out and I'll get back to you.
Well, Harrison, I appreciate you taking the time enlightening us about the latest and greatest technologies that are coming out of AR, especially when it comes for new home construction and developments. So, Harrison, thank you again.
No, thank you, Aaron. It was so nice having this conversation.
Awesome. And for those that are listening, thank you again for listening, and have a wonderful day. Please stay tuned for our next episode of Market Pulse presented by Smart Touch. I'm your host, Aaron Fichera. See you guys.